meeting. So I am calling to order the meeting of the Index Committee for October 2nd, 2025. And before we start, I want to read the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lummi, Nooksack, Samish, and Semiahmoo peoples who have cared for and tended this land since time immemorial. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We pay respect to their elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events. All right, thank you. So I am going to proceed through our agenda. We had a very small meeting last time in August, foolishly scheduling an August meeting in the Pacific Northwest. So we used it as kind of a tiny work group. There was Perry was here, and Caleb, and Lynette from the health department, and myself. So what we decided to do was take a step into the recommendations from Village Reach, look at the core measures that Julia recommended, and see what we could actually produce. And so, as you recall, her 4 core measures are number of bookings into the jail, average length of stay in the jail, connections to care, and recidivism. And so what we came up with, and unfortunately, Caleb is not able to attend today, and I don't see Perry yet, is they acknowledge that we can get 2 of those. We can get bookings into jail and average length of stay off our current data systems. So they were actually going to create and bring that data for 2024 and the first part of 2025 so that we could have a discussion about when and how we wanted to consider actually starting a public dashboard with the limited things that we have. We had a discussion, the 3 of us, about how we would define some terms. The key that's of those 4 measures that's missing definition is quote, recidivism, and recognizing that there's not a lot of clarity on who is actually going to make this decision. We at least started with an unofficial recommendation, and our unofficial recommendation was to use the same definition that a few other programs use when they are focused on more on the use of the jail than on other aspects of involvement with the judicial system. So we came up with the definition for the purposes of this justice implementation project to be rebooking by the same person into jail. So in other words, if they had a traffic stop or they got involved with law enforcement in another way, it would not count. It would count if they were booked, and then it would go from there. So people that were eligible for diversion prior to booking would not be counted. It was strictly looking at our focus on incarceration. So our goal today was to have more people and be able to discuss this more. So I would like to hear everybody's opinions on the call. And secondly, to have a discussion about how will this and many other decisions get made? Who is going to be the body? Is it the IPRTF? And if it's not the IPRTF, then who is it? You know, we're involving multiple agencies, so it's not like the sheriff or Caleb or the chief of police in Bellingham. I mean, it's going to take a community effort. So let's have the discussion about both. And Satpal, with you here and with others, let's start with who in the end is going to make these kinds of decisions, because that's going to drive how we approach all these steps. So Satpal, if you would like to weigh in, I'd be delighted. I'm also interested in everybody else's thoughts being here. I don't know if Satpal, are you unmuting or are you?
Sorry, I was multitasking. I missed it. I'm sorry.
No, that's not a problem. I did put you on the spot, but that wasn't quite my intention. What I was asking is, as we move forward from approving the recommendations from Village Reach to chipping away at some steps to implement them, who the decision maker is on a variety of things, like how we would define recidivism. There's a number of ideas about it, but what body or what person has the authority to say, okay, I've heard all these ideas and this is how we're going to do it?
Yeah. Okay. So I thought about quite a bit about this, that how do we take this recommendation further? I think the first thing is I will put my recommendation on top of your recommendation and give it to the council. The question council is going to ask, and we should ask ourselves, where to house this? I don't think that, and I have to defer to Kayla and Ellie a little bit, that we would like to house it in executive's office.
Mm-hmm.
Our span goes very wide and everything, and then we don't
Exactly.
do a good job, and that's not good for overall. Whole purpose of this thing is somebody should be really in charge and running with it. I think
Exactly.
our capacity in the executive's office is limited from that perspective. I want it to be successful. So it won't hurt my feelings that it's not in executive's office.
Okay.
So the second thing is I was thinking that it should be in prosecuting attorney's office. They have a larger staff, and they can recruit from maybe Maya or sheriff. They can see that what kind of assistance, and our office, what kind of assistance we can provide. So that was my first thought. So when I go to the council, or you have sent the recommendation, when I talk to the council, I think I need to define that answer so that when I go there, I go with a firm proposal. This is what we want you to do. If we leave it open, they're going to be actually same thing, asking the same thing. Okay, what do you want to do with us? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
I just wanted to see what your feelings are if it is located in the prosecuting office.
Mhm.
attorney's office. Now, sheriff. I think that I did think about sheriff, and nobody is here from sheriff's office, but I just want to
Mhm.
say, uh, I think to increase the trust level and increase the more acceptance, if it is somebody else other than sheriff's office,
Mhm.
would be good because they are very key. They hold
Right.
a lot of information, they feed a lot of information. But I think if the community angle would be a little bit slighted from that perspective.
Mhm.
That's how I feel about it. Yeah, I welcome any comments.
Well, thank you. I think this is
Or
an
Manette, if
important
you guys want
discussion.
it, the health department, let us know.
Yes. Well, Maya, I'm curious if you don't mind if I call people out, um, mostly because you're involved in the court system, and I don't see anyone here from the prosecuting attorney's office. So in your position, what are your thoughts about the pros or cons of having it live anywhere in the court system, and particularly in the prosecuting attorney's office?
I guess so. I think of this data publishing movement. It's like there's this shorter term part of it where it feels very attached to the J-pop and this
Mm-hmm.
project that maybe is, I don't know, 5-year project or so. I don't know, maybe it's longer,
Right.
I don't know, whatever.
Right.
That it's like, or is it, or are we looking at something, are we trying to build something that like is a forever thing?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Satpal is right that if we're looking at trying to create this, it needs to be in a county department if we're trying to, but it could maybe move to a county department like the prosecutor's office if J-pop, if it was part of their work to create the dashboard and create the public information. Like, so I guess I'm not sure. Like, I think I thought maybe it could start with J-pop and then move to the prosecutor's office
Mm-hmm.
for like ongoing support after
Mm-hmm.
it's been built and invested, and maybe a more diverse group of people contribute to what the answers are and what
Mm-hmm.
the definitions are through that J-pop process. But I don't know. So I don't attend the J-pop meetings Stark does, so I don't have as good of
Yeah.
A sense, right, of what
uh,
I think as the ordinance is written, they're a really important part of it. I don't think they get down to the
we can't task
gravy
them with
level,
that.
yeah, of it as much as that. I'm just curious, if you don't mind if I call on folks here. Lynette, you're the person who's here from the health department, and the health department, it seems to me, is another option in this. I think the assumption, as you said, Satpal, has to go with wherever it lands, there will be contributions to the staffing and cost, right? I mean, nobody in any department is probably ready to take on a new project. What are your thoughts, Lynette?
I feel like there's a couple of questions in there. So who is the decision makers? I think for a project this large and for the scope, I mean, it touches probably 5 county departments, if and
Mm-hmm.
outside entities as well. I wouldn't I wouldn't claim us as the decision makers.
Right.
And I also think the data is also coming from probably 5 different departments
Mm-hmm.
and 15 computer systems. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive. It's going to take a lot of staffing. Where those staff live, I don't have a big
Mm-hmm.
if it's coming with new staffing and new resources, then I mean, I think they could live anywhere because they're going to need partnership and collaboration with
Mm-hmm.
everybody else involved. I will say we do not have the staffing to take on a project this size, and the complicated nature of it. I mean, we've been trying in a small piece in health for a while to combine some of these back end systems for particularly for our response systems division, to have some a little bit of court data, some EMS data, some Bellingham Police Department data, and it's taken years, and we've just scratched the surface. We've been asked about this a lot because it is a lot of similar data, and I asked, if you think of the whole scope of the Justice Project, how far have we gotten in health into some of this? And they said about 10%. So it's a comprehensive amount to still do. By nature, the back end systems don't always want to speak together. So it takes some real technical pieces to make it work. And so, yeah, I think regardless of where they sit, it's going to need to be in a really collaborative and cross-departmental way that they work, because there's a lot to do. So I don't know if that means it's in IT, thinking particularly about the data and infrastructure piece. But yeah, sorry, long story short.
Oh, it really is. And I think that you're right to separate out the questions. So I think more importantly than what three people's recommendations were about recidivism is the answer to who does make that decision. And if that is certainly part of JPOP's role. JPOP is a subcommittee of the IPRTF. So one question is, IPRTF is probably the only group that is somewhat cross-represented throughout the community. It's got people from most of the places that will be involved. And I'm just going to throw this up as perhaps the IPRTF could serve as the final decision-making body. I mean, it's not going to sit in the course of its meetings and do all the thought processes. That will bubble up from the people represented there, with JPOP playing a large role. JPOP's kind of, I think, plays the consumer role. Is this what's important to us as the public? Is this what we want to see? And then our committee, the Index Committee, and multiple others weigh in on, is this technically feasible? What can we really do, and for how much money, et cetera, et cetera. And I've had a couple of conversations with Marty and Holly about this very issue, because I think now that Village Reach has come and gone, this is kind of the obvious next question. I don't want to just, I have only three faces in front of me, but I know there's lots others on the call. So does anyone have comments about the concept of using the IPRTF to be the sort of final decision-making body on some of the non-technical details, but more the principles of
So
how we
Bertie,
want this to
Jill
look.
here, I'm going to step in for just a second, just to say for the record that the IPRTF is not empowered to make any decisions. It can only
That's
make
it.
recommendations.
It's a recommending.
Correct. So I just want to make sure that's clear to
Well,
everyone.
that is a very excellent point. So
Okay, I
Scott Paul has.
wanted to chime in because
Yes.
I have to leave at 3 o'clock for something else.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the way I view it is when we say decision making and other things. The first thing is Maya's question. Yes, this is permanent. This whole project is permanent, and we are at the first stages of how to establish it. The second thing I'm saying, decision making. There are two pieces of decision making here. The one piece is decision making needed now to establish it. Right? I mean, if that's what we are talking of decision making, how to establish this this process of this thing, to me, these are the dashboards.
Right.
But after that, the decision making is going to be independent of everybody. It's like a database available to all the departments, or even outside departments, like to the council, to other people independently, even private people independently, and they infer from whatever they feel from their perspective, and they bring those things either to council or executive or to IPRTF.
Mhm.
I don't think that we should fix that, who is the decision maker of that. We should
Got
be decision maker of how to establish it.
Right.
Once these established, and these are the dashboards on our website and database is available, it should be public.
Mhm.
If the sheriff wants to find something out of this, then they are available to take this data and come to this IPRDF or index committee or the main body, say, okay,
Mhm.
we are seeing this trend or we are seeing this accomplishment. How about this? Same thing, council allocating budgets and money, same health department, everybody. So I think we should separate that. We should call it a temporary thing, give ourselves, let's say, 3 years,
Mhm.
that in 3 years, we will have it established, and then index committee can still stay in the background to watch and monitor whatever additions and things need to be done, or
Mhm.
something which is redundant should be taken off, right?
Right.
And decision making, I think, should be just limited to that. After that, let everybody, like public defender, they may have this data available. They can correlate from their perspective and
Mhm.
get their inferences, and then bring it out and let prosecutor department say, no, 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 this is not correct because of blah, 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 right? I think
Mhm.
let's have that healthy discussion at that point of time. Right now, our aim is how to make it happen.
Mhm.
And our decision making aim should be only up to that point, right? Now,
Mhm.
housing it, mean what I meant for housing it was that who will take the lead? And the way our budgeting works and everything, the council perceives the executive's office as purely just executive administrative office. We have added on medical examiner. We have some function with the courts, Raylene and all this. And when my budget comes out, it came out that Satpal's budget has doubled since he became county executive. And I mean, people infer, like, we are political body, and this has been going out in public in this election cycle, that the county executive is run amok, and look at his budget is doubled, and he's telling everybody to cut your budget, right? So I'm just seeing that us taking on these functional things, that's not our function.
Got it.
Right? And I think it seems like very convenient place. Let executive do that because he talks to everybody. And it's not about me or Satpal, it's about this office, right? So
Mhm.
I think that's my motivation. I just want to make
Okay.
it clear
Right.
that let some department handle it, and then there is a budget to go with it, right?
Right.
And it will make us neutral also as executive, and people
Mhm.
can reach out to the executive's office from all the administrative departments with any issues and things like that. If we are the ones, we may not hear from different departments for different things. And a prosecuting attorney is independently elected office, so is sheriff, right? So
Mhm.
that's my reason
I see. That was the reason.
is
for it, yeah.
suggesting that let it keep it there, right?
Mhm.
And we should. I think our emphasis is like, if we give ourselves 3 years and go to the council for a budget 3 years, and the force of the council to each of the 5 or 6 departments that you must participate in this thing, and we will give you X dollars or whatever, and I'm willing
Mhm.
to do that pushing from the department side, administrative
Right.
side, right? My office will do that.
Got it.
So that's how I perceive it to be, and that's how I perceive that we should take that direction.
Well, I thank you. I think that is a useful discussion. I think we're wandering a little possibly out of the main thrust of the index committee, but I don't think this project lives really any other place at the moment. And
Yes.
so because of that, I would be very interested in hearing from others of you on the call about, you know, this committee has looked at Village Reach's conclusions and recommendations as a committee, as well as it moving up through the full task force. So everyone has had an exposure to it. Now that we've gone from approving to operationalizing it, I would love to hear other people's thoughts, because I think this is a discussion that will be happening across the county, and this is an opportunity here from those of you who have been led by interest and other to participate on this committee. So, anyone else want to volunteer some thoughts? Jill? Oh, Perry's here. That's good. Jill, I think I lost you, or were you raising your hand, or?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself.
Oh,
Dean White is attending. He's here as an attendee and he has his
oh,
hand raised.
excellent. Let us bring Dean into the conversation as well. And Dean, I see your hand up. Thank you. Let's hear what you have to say.
I think that the critical issue is to distinguish, which kinds of decisions are we talking about? And I think the decision that Satpal was addressing was really the decision of, how do we staff and where should it reside? The overall body of work that will be needed to do to implement this recommended evaluation plan, and that's a different decision to be made than how do we define recidivism, which I think
Right.
can be made at at a lesser level, and primarily relying on people who each understand the technical terms and then confer to reach consensus on a particular definition. And so, I mean, I think from that standpoint, the IPRTF is a good sounding board for getting feedback and giving feedback about the various definitions, because they have all the players who understand the data elements that go into a particular definition.
That makes sense. Some decisions I think will probably have more public comment in terms of public reacting than others. For example, the recidivism one may be made largely through the input from this committee because we have the IT folks, and the discussion that Perry and Caleb and I had last time was, this is what we can easily get, or maybe not easily, but maybe with less difficulty than others. And so, and this would sort of answer the question. Whereas something like what's farther down on our agenda, race and ethnicity, I think the public's going to have more opinion on what data they want available in that sphere. So, so what I've heard so far is that, and Dean, I think you nicely pointed out that we're talking about different kinds of decisions. And one is the administrative part of how is this going to get carried forward and implemented over the next 3+ years. And Satpal, I think you've made a case for it not living in the executive office. And it sounds like ultimately that would be the council decision, right? And you and others will have input into that. So I would think that that's really not up to our committee, the index committee, to weigh in too much. In terms of things like recidivism, does that make sense to have those kinds of decisions come out of this committee, and then they would go to JPOP and IPRTF for comment, I assume? So if that is the case, I think my desire is to start having some of these conversations in the context of these meetings and not sort of dancing around the edge of it and not weighing in, because I think there's some action that needs to start going. So Perry, I'm not sure if you were listening or not when I mentioned our last small meeting with the work group and how the goal was to actually bring real data on the number of bookings and the average length of stay in jail.
Uh,
I
I
start,
got to leave, so sorry,
okay,
guys.
well,
I'll
Satpal,
join
thank
next
you.
time. Yes, thank you.
I appreciate your attendance. That was helpful.
Sorry, I'm a little late today.
Oh, that's perfectly okay. I
We,
know these are hard meetings.
Getting ready for an election, and we also just spent the last couple days upgrading our main Spillman system, and that was an interesting activity. So what we did is, I think you, Caleb, myself, and Rick, maybe Johnny's had a little chat about those three measurements. And I
Mhm.
think you listed you know, the daily booking, and so I know that Caleb, Rick, we feel confident in the first two that you listed
Okay,
there.
which is the daily bookings and the average
And
length
I
of
think,
stay.
as I recall, one of our consultants provided us with a national standard definition of measuring at least one of those.
Okay,
Okay, we have kind of, I know Caleb and Rick have been working on adjusting our logic to meet that national standard. I
good.
think that I think two out of the three are, and I, like you, Bernie, don't like to use the term easy.
No,
But the two out of three are less easy. Well,
less
you know what I
difficult
mean.
or something, right?
And then recidivism. Um, I know that Caleb has been putting a lot of effort into that.
Mm-hmm.
I probably shouldn't be the messenger on that, but I think he's definitely, got some things to share next time he's able to on that front.
Okay, all right. So
And,
we
and I
will,
think what I kind of learned from the glance that I had it when he was working on it was, it's not a singular term. Recidivism, um, there's different ways of measuring it,
mhm,
and I think it probably will be multiple metrics, is what I'm
mhm,
guessing.
okay,
But I think I would defer to him on that. I just wanted the group to know that I think he's put a lot of effort into that topic.
well, that's excellent. So I'll try to connect with him so that we can make sure he can present that.
And I might have seen an early draft, but
Mm-hmm,
so I think
good.
and then the question is, okay, once we have it defined, can we measure it with our current data sets?
Well, that's exactly right.
But I think the first two we can.
Okay, so my next question as we march our way down the agenda here is that the one of the major recommendations was, in addition to those four measures, that we can disaggregate the data by race and ethnicity. And of course, that's similar to recidivism in that there's many different ways to slice and dice those measurements. So I would like to start from what is actually happening now. In 2025, how are the different agencies in Whatcom County gathering that data? And so for those of you on the call, do you know, is there a standard policy across the different agencies in terms of Bellingham Police versus Sheriff's Office versus jail versus Health Department, or does everyone do it slightly differently? Silence. I'm looking a lot at, I can't look at you, but Perry and Ryan from the IT arena. Lynette, do you folks collect your own race and ethnicity, or you just inherit it from the other folks who are collecting it?
We don't collect our own, other than, small things. We don't collect our own raw data. We use demographics, usually either from what's called like chat or NSP data, or from census data. And so we don't collect unique
Right.
demographic data from the department. Now, specific programs might collect demographics on their clients, but it's for our purposes, we're usually looking at larger populations, not specific client list, and so we don't collect our own.
Right.
What we might do, Bertie, is we might look at the Spillman system and see what the data fields are there. We might look at the prosecutor system, see what the data fields are there. And then, look beyond county government. I think, obviously, public defender has theirs, but I think they have a level of confidentiality that Maya will need to address that. So I think, we could just start with, what is being collected by their major business system. Maybe here's the options that so here's the field in their database, and here's the options that they're using to populate it. That's a very basic start.
Right. I think that might be a good place to start. I have received a very informal request from someone who was on the Whatcom Racial Equity Commission. And I know from talking to Miriam, the director, that it's an important issue for them, and that is the Hispanic data. And Jake, I don't want to venture onto things. I would appreciate hearing what you have to say, Jake, before I change the subject.
Oh, no problem. I know Perry's kind of already touched on this, but, and I don't want to put it all on the Spielman, but many departments utilize that. And also when they enter that information from other agencies as well. So they're getting it from multiple, law enforcement departments as people get booked. And if somebody gets booked from somewhere else, they're looking at those reports and making sure that, it's continually being reviewed, updated,
right,
and then viewed by certain departments. It just seems like I'm not trying to put work on the sheriff's office, but it just seems like such a centralized system where apparently we might be getting 2, if not 3 of those pillars discussed from, and then that data might be what you're discussing. A great
that would
place
be very
to
helpful.
get that as a resource as well.
Right,
So, anyways.
right. Just my approach from the outside looking in somewhat is, okay, what fields are available and how are they being used? And then the second question is, if it's important to us to decide that adding ethnicity, such as Hispanic, is an important move, what would it take? How heavy a lift is that? Do you have any idea, or is that something we need to investigate? and this isn't to go anywhere. It's not, I don't mean that I'm going to go back and say, oh yeah, we can do it. My point is just for the sake of this discussion within this committee, what type of, is this a shot to the moon, or is this a something considerably less difficult?
I mean, I work closely with, I support, all the departments.
Mhm.
Again, I think we could check, we could work through the sheriff's office and maybe at the next time have
Yeah,
Caleb help describe, the field, just because the field is there, that your other point, Bertie, was, and how is the field used?
absolutely. It's two pieces. You have to train the people that are entering it in the way. That's why I was starting out with, is there a policy about how this is filled
Yeah.
out?
I think we would need to defer to the sheriff's office, at
Okay.
least there.
That gives us a starting point. All right.
And I don't, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we could take a look at the major systems across, county government and just,
Mhm.
is there keep it real simple. Is there a field
Right.
and how is it used?
Exactly. Maya, for defense, do you mind if I ask you, we're not asking for individual confidential data, more the types of data that's collected.
There's problems even with us providing aggregate data. Frankly, there's like ethics decisions about that. So I have a feeling that we wouldn't be a source for data. We would like to, and maybe have insights onto how what's collected, what's presented, what's relevant,
Right,
should,
right.
but I don't think that our office could be a source for data.
Okay, that's important for us to know. Would that be the same for the prosecutor's office?
No, because they don't have clients like we do.
I see. See, I'm the
Yeah.
babe in the wilderness and.
Yeah, no problem.
It's the
Yeah, no,
same.
they can provide, my opinion is they could
Yeah,
provide all of
yeah,
that without
okay.
an ethical problem. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's very helpful to realize. Thank you. So I don't want to pull us too far from where you want to be pulled, but is it realistic then to suggest that I could reach out to Caleb and reach out to the sheriff to see if they could have information for a discussion on this at our next meeting in December? Okay, I will do that. And the final issue that has come up is request for age. We don't have that as part of the disaggregation recommended by Village Reach, but there has been some considerable discussion at the all hands that was recently held, and I've heard it from other individuals recommending that we be able to segregate by age, with an eye in particular for targeting the age 18 to 25, which are in our society maybe quasi-adults versus older, just in terms of helping us shape policy and responses. And you would not be able to do that if you couldn't segregate out that.
I kind of remember Councilmember Buchanan making inquiries on this topic for the last couple of years. So I think there might already be some reports, some information that has been mined.
Okay, okay. So am I correct in my assumption that the age data is in most of the systems? This question is more, is it possible to write reports and draw it out in certain groupings. Is that correct? Is the age in there?
I would think so. You've got date of birth.
Right, right, okay. All right,
But again, I think there was some pretty good focus historically on that
okay.
age group that you were referring to. I don't,
So what would be the next step to see if that, what would it take to have it be available going forward?
I could make an inquiry. I could look back, make an inquiry on,
Okay,
um, when that was a focus. I mean, it's always a focus, but,
yeah, yeah,
I know that we were doing special reports or something a couple years ago on that topic.
excellent. Jill has her hand up. Jill?
Sorry, I keep forgetting. to
No, that's all
unmute
right. You were
myself.
muted, right?
Yeah, just to give some more context to what Perry was talking about, it was actually pre-COVID, Barry, and a multi-jurisdictional group were included in a national grant program to look into the youth question. And so I suggest maybe the next step would be to connect with Councilmember Buchanan. I think it was COVID happened and lockdown happened right at the tail end of that.
Got
So I
it.
don't know the end result of that project. But I suggest the next step would be to connect with Councilmember Buchanan. He's busy doing some other things right now, so it might take some time to get back, or for him to get back to you. But yeah, I just want to give a little more context to what Perry was talking about.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Jill.
you. Perry, is that something that you're comfortable doing, or do you want to have me do that, or?
I can, what I'd probably do is, I'd probably talk to, Rick and IT here and
Yes,
Caleb and then, also the council office and,
yep, yep. I would like to have it live in your lap if possible, because you're closer to the actual data and we'll get more informed answers.
okay, and I do see these folks on a regular basis, so
That's
I
excellent.
can definitely help initiate it.
All right. So I'm just going to take a stab at summarizing what I think I've heard, because we have 10 minutes left. And I invite anybody who thinks I'm off base, please raise your hand. But what I think I've heard is that Perry and Caleb have looked into the 4 major measures, and 2 of them are available, and that's daily bookings and average length of stay in the jail. Caleb has probably thought significantly more about recidivism, so we can put that pending until he's available, hopefully in our December meeting. Then the age question is
Okay, so that's number
probably,
4.
yeah, I skipped. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I skipped the race and ethnicity, I just realized. And so that sounds like, again, Spillman and the sheriff's office is the best place to look at what fields are available and
I mean,
what
we have multiple across the criminal justice
I
system.
know we do.
So, yeah, we could start there, but there's,
We'd have to deal with others,
yeah,
right?
there's others
right,
too.
Right.
I know we're always so interested in the sheriff's system, but there are other systems that have
Right,
that
right. Yes, okay. Well, maybe that's the place to start.
Yeah.
And then we can look at others. And then the age one also you were going to look into that part. So what I'm building is that in December, hopefully we can get some input on these issues. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, and the other item for December is, as most of you know, the IPRTF is developing its 2026 work plan, and they have written a draft with the charge for our committee, and it needed a bit of massaging, and so I didn't use this meeting to look at it because some things have been done and some haven't, and but that will be something for our December meeting. And I think partly those of us on this committee now need to decide what we are willing to commit to as our role and what is not our role. I think at this point it's been really conceived of as somewhat of a technical advisory committee, and that's kind of what I've been doing today, is trying to tease out some questions on that part of it. And so please come ready to think about, is that our role? Is there a different role? What is it you hope to be part of when you're on the index committee? Because I think that's going to help us as we go forward. It's just kind of a turning point in the sense that we now have a project recommendations, and they're going to hopefully find a home, but we will be important players in it. Dean.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know, Perry, a while back, as I recall that Rick Anderson was going to be having his work shift more toward data issues related to the Justice Project, but that there were concerns about how to backfill his current duties. And I just was wondering, is there a status report on whether you've been able to do that backfilling, or is
Yeah,
that?
we actually this week just started a new senior applications administrator. And so that will help free up his time. The original budget request was for a position to support criminal justice and the Justice Project. So it's not 100% Justice Project, but I do see Rick having more availability now that we have hired another senior applications administrator. So that's don't fall off your chair, but
No,
I know I've been asked that question for about 2 years now. So yeah, we are now, we're staffed up, but we're not trained up yet.
got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Perry, you get the silence award. You didn't start the meeting off with cartwheels or big
Well, I
announcements.
kind of had, I kind of had to listen for a while with the county executive on the call and
That's right, right.
being tardy to the meeting.
Yep, no, that's all fair, but that is good news. So we look forward to ongoing progress in that regards. Well,
I guess, well, the other thing while we're chatting here is, the Caleb and Rick and all these folks, the process of building the jail is happening. I mean, it's really going, and I see a lot of effort.
Right.
They're asking for a lot of information that, Rick and Caleb are putting together. So, I mean, it's good, but now we've got the build the jail in the same parallel line as how we're going to evaluate the effectiveness of all our programs. It's kind of going on at the same time now.
Well, that's a really good point. And I guess I would just ask one question with my eye on the time that we're almost done. But is the information that they're having to put together for the folks that are planning and building the jail, is that information that will then be useful on doing the other hands work of performance evaluating and all of that? So is that an investment in?
I would hope so.
Mhm.
As people ask for data in different ways and different purposes.
Right, right. Okay. Well, thank you all. Does anyone have any other business before I ask for public comment? Seeing no hands raised, Jill, do we have members of the public?
We do. If any of you would like to speak to the committee, please virtually raise your hand now. No hands are raised. And Bertie, if you can stay behind for a minute to check.
I'd be happy
Great,
to.
thank you.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming and look forward to seeing you in December when we'll do some follow-up and talk about how we want to engage with each other for the next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Bertie.